There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
All right, you're listening to Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3 FM. I'm your host, Craig, joined by first-time guest, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hello.
Today we're going to be looking at how media shapes our understanding of the world around us, as we do every week. We're streaming on YouTube and Twitch. You can find us via just searching for Media Mothership. We're also, of course, on the FM system, the old analog FM system. If you're in your car with your car radio, you can listen to us. And you can call in directly into the studio. The studio number here is 0488811707. And we can see your chats popping up if I pay attention to them on the screen. I think you can see them too here, Brian, on this screen.
Behind the mic, yeah. Hi, chat. What's up?
Exciting. Of course, we're broadcasting out of Edge Radio Studios here in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. The wonderful studio here, purpose-built for maximizing the best audio content we can provide. We're just going to do another review show today, jumping through some really interesting media discussion. So sit back, enjoy, and dive into some of the big analysis of media today on Media Mothership. Well, Brian, before we go into the first story, I'm keen to hear a little bit about you. Yeah. Who are you, Brian?
So, hi, I'm Brian, as we have actually mentioned that earlier. Well, I'm a volunteer at Edge Radio. Pretty new at that, and I'm also a student at UTAS, actually, currently doing pharmacy, but I might plan on pivoting to journalism probably after I graduate, so you can say I'm gaining experience in a way, but glad to be here as well, you know?
Excellent. Yes, that's the spirit, throwing yourself in the deep end, just seeing what happens as we try to make media along the way. Of course, if you're interested out there, we're always looking for people to do new radio shows here on Edge Radio. It's a great platform. You can develop it into a podcast, as we do with this show as well on Edge Radio. So let's jump in. Let's play one more wonderful mood-creating tune to get us in the mood. Yeah, we'll be right back. And we're right back now. So usually I'll try and find some really interesting media stories each week. And the one that I've not played this video game, but Games Radar had a fascinating article called The Biggest Baldur's Gate 3 Save Scummers Slammed Quicksave Over 1,400 Times in One Go. So this is the video game Baldur's Gate 3, and the phenomena called save scumming. This save scummer out there did over 1,400 quick saves in one go. And one of the game developers, Larian, has said, "You doing okay there?" So basically, this is Larian Studios, who did Baldur's Gate 3. They've been releasing over the last week player statistics from Baldur's Gate 3, the video game. And in this data they've revealed that one player pressed the quick save button more than 1,400 times in a single play session. So that's just one session of gaming, 1,400 times. And it really does. I mean, the whole article opens up some really interesting points around how different players approach a role-playing game like Baldur's Gate 3. It's I mean, for me, the question about save scumming, if it ruins the experience or if it's another way to enjoy role-playing. What do you know about save scumming, Brian? Do you want to confess your save scumming background?
Well, I don't really play video games that involve like a lot of save mechanisms, but I think I know enough to say about it. So, for those uninitiated, save scumming is basically the practice of, you know, in how in a game there's like checkpoints which you can save. So, people usually hit that save button repeatedly in the event that they get like a bad ending. So they're basically trying to just like speed run like the most optimal result in the game, and it's controversial in that regard.
Yeah, that's right. So usually it's where players want to min-max, so minimize the negative and maximize the positive. And so save scumming, I guess the idea of saving is pretty natural, but scumming, the scum behavior, as you're saying, Brian, is where you don't like what's happened, so you replay the save to get the perfect result, which is called scumming. And I guess it's like your scum. It's that negative valuing of it. It is fascinating, though, how common it is. And, I guess it reflects the pressure to get a perfect game. It's I was reading the article, and there's an interesting point where they were interviewing a member of Larian, and he was saying that, again, this is a quote from him saying, "Generally, I try, not always successfully, to follow the slay the spire rule of save scumming in all games." So Slay the Spire is a video game. The rule he follows there is mistakes are forever. So if you're playing the game and you just chose the wrong thing, right? The wrong weapon, the wrong attack, you misjudged the big boss's kind of algorithm and you died, that's on you. That's your mistake. However, if you do an honest and disastrous misclick, right? So you're playing the game and then maybe your mouse disconnects, or your thumb accidentally presses the space bar when it's not meant to, and it catastrophizes the game. In that case, from his rules, you can save scum, right? It's a misclick, it's an honest mistake, but you try and keep those mistakes happening. Do you have any views on save scumming? Do you judge people, who save scum? Do you say, hey, you should just bear loss? It's a good psychological thing to experience loss. You can't be perfect at everything. It's a low-risk thing. It's a video game. It's single-player. So what?
For the most part, actually, yeah, I do agree with what you say. Like, at least for me, I'm the type which is really, really... I'm a type of person who is very try-hard in that sense.
Yeah.
So I'm a perfectionist when it comes towards gaming, but at the same time, it doesn't feel fun if I, took like shortcuts to get there. And to a certain degree, I think save scumming is also a bit of a shortcut. So I do have reservations against it as well.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it can devalue the accomplishment of the game. In fact, at the reading through it, there's the game designer also has rolled out a honor mode in the game, right? So honor mode in Baldur's Gate 3, it was a new patch, so Baldur's Gate 3, they recently patched it, and they added this uber difficult mode called honor mode. Have you ever played Baldur's Gate or Baldur's Gate 3?
No, but I've heard of it before, actually. It's
huge.
Yeah, based on Dungeons and
Dragons.
Dragons. Yep.
So you got elves and wizards and everything. In honor mode, you can't save scum. So it removes the whole save scum thing, because they've found that, there are certain difficulties and settings which, you can completely sidestep through save scumming. So honor mode enforces and removes that exploit. I know in some of the big Paradox games I play, which are big strategic games like Hearts of Iron, you can play on what's called Iron Man mode. And annoyingly, in Hearts of Iron, which is a World War II simulation game, it's the only way to unlock the achievements. You can't save scum and get the achievements. If you save scumming, you just are locked out of the because Because the Iron Man mode it's only a one save file, so you've only got that one save file throughout your game, and you can't just have multiple save games and go back to a previous setting because you realize further down the track, oh, that was the wrong choice. But yeah, so obviously there are game companies trying to overcome the save scumming issue. Yeah, and so message in. I mean, does save scumming ruin the experience, do we think? Or is it simply another way to actually enjoy the role-playing game? Feel free to send a message on the chat.
You know, I think one of the biggest gripes I have with save scumming, at least in these kind of cases, you know, with specific games which have like huge decision trees, right? Part of the fun comes in actually failing because, well, at least for Baldur's Gate, right? Did a quick search. I think some of the players might actually know this. There's the Blood of Lathander quest.
Right.
Yeah, extremely difficult quest. Apparently questions a lot about your morality. And in the end, if you do, you know, somehow get through the entire thing, you get a really, really broken weapon, which is the titular Blood of Lathander. And I looked through the walkthrough, the entire thing. You are given decisions as to like what to pick and whether you want to interact with like the NPCs around there and even some of the characters as well. They may have certain dialogues if you choose specific endings, you know, if like the place blows up or something like that. I think part of the thrill, part of the uniqueness comes in knowing that you can't, not really can't, but you probably shouldn't U-turn on your decision. It makes the impact much more personalized, and I think we'll probably talk a little bit more about this later. And even in simpler games, like for example Ace Attorney as well.
Yes.
That one really challenges you to think critically, and save scumming defeats the purpose because you're not working out of logic anymore. You're just closing your eyes and just playing whack-a-mole in a way.
Yes, yeah. You're not getting the experience of the game in a way. You're really playing it in a way where the stakes are really low. The emotional impact of it will not be anywhere near, I imagine, as rewarding. And I guess it's really that sense of depriving yourself of that sense of accomplishment at the end through having perfected it. But yes, we'll get around. There's a couple more articles on this issue as well. But while we're talking about Baldur's Gate, there's another Baldur's Gate article, which I want to get around to in a sec.
Yep.
After this little clip. Right, yes, this is another one from Kotaku. Headlined, New Baldur's Gate 3 player stats prove you're all knife-happy bard murderers. I want everyone involved brought up on charges is the subtitle there. So again, this is another article about the video game Baldur's Gate 3. The really odd thing about this is that, again, the studio's been releasing some player statistics, and statistics from the people playing this game has revealed a surprisingly large number of players killing this bard character off, Alfrea, during Dark Urge playthroughs. The data offers a fascinating glimpse into how players actually roleplay. It's interesting because, again, I've got to set some time around to play Baldur's Gate 3. I've not played it. I know it's a hugely important and significant game. What's interesting about this character, though, is that it talks about how so this is a character that's introduced early on in the role-playing game, and it's an NPC character that you meet. Now, the really twisted thing about it is that, again, you can play around a kind of like an evil character set, right? This Dark Urge idea. But then what was really troubling was the statistics are showing that even players who are not playing evil characters, who are not kind of committing towards a Dark Urge playthrough, are also killing this character, right? Characters for whom there's no benefit, really, from what I can see, towards the murder of this character. They still commit to the death of this character, which is that kind of Because I mean, the research I've seen on video games, role-playing games, where you get to choose characters across a morality spectrum, evil or good characters, is that statistically most people say they're playing good characters, like Red Dead Redemption and so forth, where you can play as a cowboy, you can commit crimes as the cowboy and develop a kind of, outlaw identity, a kind of evil moral set, or you can play as a good guy and save people and benefit from those actions. This statistic in the Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough seems to contradict what fans often claim they're doing. Fans claim they're good guy characters, but then you have instances where harmless NPC bards, cheerful bards playing their lutes, are just getting completely killed.
Oh no.
Yeah, message in if you're one of these murderers of the character.
The shame.
It is interesting. Many change, even though they're not choosing a dark narrative path, they're still committing that murder act. It's also revealing in terms of the amount of data developers have access to. That clearly they can see all this data of player actions, and over the millions of playthroughs, get these weird trends starting to appear. It's interesting. I guess the question for listeners out there, do our choices in games reveal something about us? Right? Or are they simply kind of acts of play without consequence? If you heard a friend killed a character in a video game, would that cause any worries about that friend? Or would you say, well, it's just a game?
It's a tricky thing, to be honest. I would say that at least this is my take. I'm
sorry
not
to put you
sure.
on the spot here, Brian. You don't need to.
I mean, it's fine. No, I did want to actually talk about this anyway. It's not like the first time I've heard this question. So, at least speaking for myself, I'm living compared to, an in-game story, I'm living a relatively mundane life. I go to campus, I study, I go back, cook dinner, eat, sleep, repeat. But whereas if I am whatever character I play in a game, for example, I'm the protagonist of Baldur's Gate, I get to do things that I would never imagine, whether it's, killing a friend or, saving a town, so on and so forth. These are things and actions which are relatively out of my norm. And I think that a lot of people out there, I think, can resonate with that idea, being that we want to imagine as people. We want to imagine, we want to live very colorful lives, doesn't matter if it's bright or dark. And to do that, we take extreme actions, and that's why we love entertainment so much, because it's a chance for us to, live that life that we can't really, carry out today. And, the personality thing, whether it's like morally good or evil to kill a character, that is really up for debate. I can't really give a definite answer. It's your opinion, but definitely just reflect on yourself a little bit, but not as much as our pursuit in finding like a way to just live our life,
Yeah, look, and I would agree. I mean, you can't. I mean, my personal opinion, it sounds similar to yours, is you really can't extrapolate a real person's identity from how they play a video game. It can provide a really interesting conversation with that person. You can ask them questions, why did you do that? But often the answers can be ones which are, not about what you think's going on in their head. An interesting research paper I was reading once, a teacher was giving an anecdote about how they were watching a young kid play Grand Theft Auto. Right, so a notorious game, much like you're saying, it provides a space where you can, as the title suggests, steal cars, commit all manner of crimes. Anyway, he was watching this teenager play the game, and he was playing this taxi side mission where you needed to pick people up and take them to a destination and unlock this achievement. And so anyway, he was watching him, and he was really concerned because the way the kid was playing the game was he would come up to a sidewalk with people there, and then he'd run over someone, right? And then the person would stand up, and then they'd get in the taxi and they'd take them to the destination. And the teacher was saying afterwards, why did you keep driving over the people, though? It seemed unnecessarily cruel and violent. And he goes, no, the problem is the game's a little buggy, and often the NPC characters won't get in your taxi. So he was just using this as a way to, game the mechanics, that if you hit them, they will then trigger the get in the taxi motion to do the quest. And he's saying, he doesn't want to drive over people. He doesn't get a thrill out of it. It's just a way to overcome a bug, a glitch in the game, allowing him to finish it more. So again, that idea of, it looks like a violent action. Again, the murder of this character, from the data we're seeing, seems like a violent action. It's like, wow, how can this person claim they're a good character, or a good playing a morally good character? Nevertheless, the reason for it, when you ask the gamer why they do it, it could be a whole series of other answers to it. It could be the mechanics, something not at all about a moral question, right? They're not doing that action as a moral choice. They want to commit a crime. They're doing it as a mechanic choice. I just want to finish this mission as quickly as I can, and this is the way to min-max that mission completion, which I always like. I mean, I do think we can assume a lot around why gamers play stuff, why they're doing it, the dopamine they're getting, the chemical reactions in the brain, and so forth. But there are really interesting cultural angles around this type of behavioral data that we're seeing in this. But I do think it's a good starting point. Are you playing any video games? What was the last video game you played, Brian?
Genshin Impact yesterday.
Genshin Impact. All right, so Japanese game.
Chinese, actually.
Chinese, right? Yeah. What is Genshin Impact? I've heard the title.
So it's basically an open world RPG.
Yep.
And it's a bit of an exploration game. There are puzzles and enemies to defeat. The usual things you would find in an RPG. There are also main quests, like we call them Archon quests, which basically involves your MC going into like various different nations and solving problems. But they're there actually to find their long lost sibling. But to do that, they have to travel across the continent to do so.
And how do you usually play the game? Do you try to play it as a righteous, good character? Can you play the game in a evil way? Can you be an evil character in the game? The kind of chaotic evil.
In the early stages of the game, they don't really give you a choice to make more like questionable decisions. But I think after a bit of player feedback by about, I'd say about Natlan, I think they started giving much more questionable choices. I remember there was one quest in which you can literally, you're not playing as like the main character, but his companion. You're given the choice to literally destroy the whole world.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Did you do that? Have you played that side quest?
Twice.
How did you... Did you destroy the world?
Twice.
Really? Wow. Is that a game over, or is that a kind of... are there multiple worlds in this game?
It's a sort of game over. Like, the whole screen fades to white. You get this small cutscene, and then you're taken back to the moment when you're supposed to destroy it. Like, the game gives you a right choice, so-called.
Which is not to destroy the world.
Which is not to destroy it, but they still allow you to just do it, because why not?
You did it twice, so you've not yet played it without destroying the world.
Actually, the second time I pressed the destroy button, it was an accident, but the first time was deliberate. I actually wanted to see what they would do.
Oh my God, all the people in that world. Such a malicious god. Accidental. Wow, that's hilarious. So again, exactly. Some of this data would reflect accidents as well, right? So how do we know if like you've said, one of those destructions of the world was an accident? It wasn't intentional. So again, there is a way in which we need to take that raw data, those numbers, and ask some interesting cultural questions about them. Interesting. Any other thoughts on the knife-happy bard murderers. Do you kill bards on sight in games you play? The bard character? Do you dislike them?
Not really, but speaking as a Minecraft player, I know a few people that love to stab the villagers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's annoying kind of villagers. What do you do to the villagers?
Not much. I just like imprison them so that I can just trade for stuff. But I've seen people literally create like bombing planes, like bomber planes to like drop bombs on villagers. So yes.
And who knows what's going on there? SMS in now if you'd like to confess. 0488811707. Alrighty, next article, again another article from Kotaku. This one, again, still talking about video games. This one's the famous film director Guillermo del Toro. Headline is, he wants extra checkpoints in games for elderly players after getting his ass kicked by Dead Cells. Yeah, I've not played Dead Cells. It strikes me as a really tough game. This is Del Toro, who was recently interviewed, and he was talking about after struggling with this particular video game, he was saying checkpoints really need to be more often in a game because it causes a lot of grief. Actually, let's listen. We'll listen quickly. It's only about a minute to the interview of Del Toro talking about the games he loves to play.
I love Left 4 Dead. Death Stranding made me cry. You know, Shadow of the Colossus made me introspect about so many untangible things. So, you know, there's not only one. BioShock. It's a world I could get lost in for ages, you know. Dead Cells was really interesting to me. I just hate respawning. Because you get only you
go all the way back
35 levels.
Yep.
And then you start again, and you get faster. But please do a version without respawning for the elderly players. I'm available. Contact me and send it to me, please. I beg you. I like the world. Great design.
Journey's amazing.
Amazing. Oh my God, what a vibe. Monument Valley.
Oh my, yes.
These are worlds that I love to like. And then every day of my life, every moment I have free, I'm still playing Angry Birds.
Angry Birds?
I'm really good at it.
So that's Del Toro talking about his own love of video games, as well as the suffering he feels towards the Dead Cells game, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's certainly, was it Dark Souls, right? Those games where there's, like, minimal save points and you're constantly having to go back to an earlier level. Really punishing game. I mean, part of that is a sense of accomplishment. But it is fascinating. Here we have, you know, one of cinema's most celebrated directors admitting that, you know, because of his age, some modern games simply demand more time and reflexes than he has now. I mean, I do like the question he's raising around should games respect players' time a little more these days. I mean, if you're going to commit to a game and you find that you're having to lose so much time to trying to beat it because the save games are so unforgiving, you know, it's that kind of opposite problem to save scumming. So save scumming is where the players can kind of exploit a really loose save system and constantly save. Whereas this game, Dead Cells, is at the other end of the spectrum where there's so few save points that it's really punishing to your time. And, you know, as Del Toro is saying, he loves the world, but you just can't finish it. Have you ever played any punishing games like that? Any games where you've just given up? It's just too hard?
Not really, but I've definitely heard of some of them. I know Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
I've seen the boss fights. It is scary.
the reflexes you need, right? It's like that Dark Souls game space. You need great reflexes. It's like that whole PvP Call of Duty space. It basically is about muscle memory, great reflexes. It's not games you can just walk into as an elderly gamer.
It really depends, actually. Well, I think to first talk about this topic, we need to understand, at least I'm saying this as someone who studies health science, right? It's important to know how people age, and with elderly people, what are we looking for? Maybe cognitive decline, physical decline. As what Del Toro said, reflexes get slower. It takes a bit longer for you to process stuff. Memory retention gets harder, and even then, there are still games out there which actually nullifies those kind of constraints. To be honest, gaming should be a place that everyone can actually participate in, even the elderly. And I recall this one grandma, I think on YouTube, she does play, I forgot whether it was Minecraft or Super Mario, I forgot which one it was, but she was playing Minecraft for fundraising purposes. But the point I'm trying to say is that with certain games, where the skill level is not around the same and the difficulty curve isn't that steep, it's very possible for everyone to enjoy it because it doesn't demand too much out of you. But then in cases what Del Toro is playing, which is very story based, very combat heavy, there needs to be a way where how do I put this? There needs to be a way for the game settings to be modifiable, but not to an extent which actually alienates elderly players. So simple things like being able to modify, directly addressing his concern, being able to directly modify his number of save points, for example, whether it's a toggleable option or maybe being able to set the difficulty level, this and that. It
reminds me of when the Nintendo Wii launched, and it was really heralded as a kind of non-hardcore gamer system. It was aimed at families, the elderly. Got rolled out in all the, you'd hear stories of it in retirement villages. And I guess it was that accessibility of the control system, that simple motion system allowed for easy game interaction, and I guess the party game vibe of it, right? Wii Fit and so forth. So it's not that the game industry is unaware and unable to create systems which are accessible. They can. I guess it's around that balance of wanting to create a challenge. You want that perfect kind of flow state for a gamer, where you've got enough challenge that it's requiring some developing skills, but also rewards are frequent enough that there's that constant sense of accomplishment. And I guess Del Toro here, we've got the example of just that lack of accomplishment. The skill level base is too high. It is a challenge. But I thank you, Brian, raising some great points there around accessibility issues.
At the end of the day, honestly, with games like this, I'm not really that worried about game developers not knowing what objectives they want to fulfill. I think that is something that they know the best. The major challenge in this is actually making sure that whatever ideas that they have to be inclusive and accessible, like you have said, it's presented in a way that doesn't feel like they are showing pity towards a certain base in one way or another. Because if I'm an old person, I don't, and we have, at least in my field, I've heard a lot of cases about elderly people still wanting to carry out normal daily activities. They don't like being hounded or assisted too much. I want to at least see some respect towards that, and that's the major hurdle, being able to treat your elderly players as just players.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm hoping I can still function as a gamer in the foreseeable future to myself. And again, in terms of mental health, it seems like one of those things. Healthy pursuit, keeping the mind frequently engaged in something. Video games certainly, I think, has a really wonderful role to play in that. All right, let's zip on to a really interesting set of articles I've come across around the movie The Odyssey. Have you seen The Odyssey, Brian? The new Christopher Nolan film?
Heard of it, but haven't had the time to visit it yet.
It is a bit of a commitment, 3 hours.
3 hours. On IMAX.
Yeah, well, sadly, no IMAXs. I think there's only a handful, maybe even one IMAX in the Southern Hemisphere, right? I think it's in Melbourne, so it's unlikely we'll ever get a chance to see it in the way that Nolan allegedly requires us to see it in. But yeah, no, I did catch it. Fantastic film. The 3 hours does go by really quickly. Interestingly, an article here from Polygon. There's a couple of articles I've come across. The first one headlined, Assassin's Creed players counts spike in the wake of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Players are flocking to Ubisoft's grand open-world role-playing game years after its release. Were you aware of Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Have you had anything to do with the Assassin's Creed franchise, Brian?
Definitely was addicted to it back when I was a kid.
Right.
Especially like the trailers. They looked so cool for its time, you know.
What is Assassin's Creed about then?
So it's how do I put this? Because it's a whole overlying story, you know.
It's huge, isn't it?
It's an overarching story. But basically you have these two factions, the Assassins and the Templars, and they have been present since time immemorial. They have literally fought since ancient Greece, the Vikings, all the way until like the Victorian era and until the present day. They are basically fighting either for or against world order, depending on who you're supporting, which is either the Assassins or the Templars, right? And then in the early stages, like in the early, in the early releases in the franchise, you had this company called, was it Abstergo Industries?
I have only played 10 minutes of the first game. From what I remember, you kind of go back in time. So you have your DNA enables you to travel back in time to your previous ancestors. So the first game's set in medieval Europe, right? You play as an assassin in the medieval ages. And the game's since gone into all these areas of history. So there's an ancient Egypt one, medieval Japan.
That was recent.
Yeah, I gotta get recent. That one. Assassin's Creed Shadows. There's the Valhalla one, where you're a Viking during the early Viking invasions of England in the 800s. And this one that the article's talking about, which is Greece. Or Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So this came out quite a while ago. But what's interesting, of course, is that this movie's generated a lot of publicity and hype, but the film hype has actually boosted game interest, which is the unusual part of this. That for this older game to have what's referred to as a long tail, people coming back into playing it. So it's fascinating looking at some of the graphs they've got, where the interest is kind of just ticking over. Then all of a sudden, since the movie started screening, it's almost doubled in popularity. And it's really a kind of weird loop you can find in pop culture, where an unexpected reference to an older piece of media or a new piece of media gets interest in these older ones. So I'm thinking, in Stranger Things, when they play a song, suddenly that song gets popular again. Kate Bush's, what was that song? The Run Up the Mountain, or whatever it was, suddenly peaked in popularity because it was in the Stranger Things episode. Again, new media, bringing interest to old media. Here, the new media is Nolan's new Odyssey film. The old media that it's pivoted a lot of interest in is this Assassin's Creed game.
It's 8 years old, by the way.
How old is it?
8 years old. It was released in 2018.
8 years. Well, it's ancient.
It's ancient. It's insane.
Have you played the Odyssey one, the one that's in Greece?
No, not really. Actually, growing up, I didn't really have a PlayStation or anything like that. But what I did substitute it with was actually like being obsessed with watching all the gameplay on YouTube.
Really?
I did that for Call of Duty as well.
No kidding. So again, that kind of developing a familiarity through that second-hand media space. But there you go. Well, if SMS in, if you're one of the people that has gotten into Assassin's Creed Odyssey, again set in ancient Rome,
Greece.
Greece. Do message in 0488811707. Interestingly, this article is also backed up by another one. This one is the Greek Prime Minister has thanked Christopher Nolan for stimulating worldwide interest in ancient Greek history through the film The Odyssey. So again, this one film and the critical interest it's created in terms of taking this ancient story of Odysseus and the Odyssey, and it's generating all of this spin-off cultural attention, including the Prime Minister of Greece himself thanking Christopher Nolan for making the film because of the interest it's generated into contemporary Greece. So I guess the boost in cultural tourism it's created. I guess government's also recognizing the power of entertainment.
It's also very nationalistic in a way because you can't help but notice the timing. Recently, I believe it was in late July. Let me check the article. Yeah, in late July, Mount Olympus actually joined the UNESCO list of World Heritage Sites after 12 years. For context, like when we think about Mount Olympus, we think about that one mountain where the Pantheon apparently lived. But no, apparently for the Greeks, there are a lot of mountains in the country which are named Mount Olympus. So the methodology goes a little bit scattered. But either way, back to the point, huge cultural win for Greece. Mount Olympus gets nominated. Not nominated. It got accepted into the list. And then the Odyssey making insane rounds in cinema. Very, very, very perfect moment for Athens, to be honest, especially with their recent debt crisis, actually. Like, they're just recovering from it. And
I mean,
now there's more tourists coming in.
I think any country will be begging for that type of attention. You're from Malaysia. Are there any films you think that have generated interest in Malaysia?
Yeah, we do have one director who's really synonymous with Malaysian film, but he's ancient. P. Ramlee, his whole list of music and film, that was probably in like the 60s or 70s. I've forgotten, but it was like a really long time ago. But at first, public recognition of his works was really hard to come by because, film industry, lots of rivals. But I think as of late, in the around the 2000s, somewhere about there, the government actually gave him a lot of recognition, and we're doing our best to actually make him popular.
What was his name again?
P. Ramlee.
P. Ramlee. Okay, we'll have to set aside a upcoming episode to deep dive into that. Given you're an international student, when you came to Australia, did you decide to watch any movies that were set in Australia? Did you have any entertainment connections that you'd seen to see Australia through? Had you watched Neighbours, Crocodile Dundee?
I've seen a few snippets of Australian TV shows with my dorm mates. The one unlucky thing is that I keep seeing those clips in the middle of the show, so I can never figure out what exactly the title is, and everyone's just watching it, and I'm too scared to ask them what show is this?
Because I guess for many people, Australia's kind of association is more flora and fauna, koalas.
Steve Irwin,
right? So you'd seen some Crocodile Hunter, or knew of it.
Respect to Steve Irwin.
Respect.
Guy was a legend.
So yeah, and I guess that's that powerful myth making of national identity. So if Christopher Nolan did a bio movie of Steve Irwin, I'm sure suddenly we'd have all this Australian tourism possibly. Whereas, I mean, there are films like The Matrix, for instance, which was filmed in Sydney, so it was filmed here in Australia, but people don't come to Australia as a result of that. It's not like The Matrix has any soft power linked to Australia. So it is interesting where you have a film, as you're saying, like The Odyssey, which is so strongly nationalistic, so strongly connected to a great Greek, literally mythic identity. But yeah, it does stimulate interest in it to come in. In fact, one of my own research projects was about the Ross Bakery here in Tasmania, midway between Hobart and Launceston, and a rumor that it was the inspiration for the Japanese anime Kiki's Delivery Service. You're an anime fan. Sadly, the truth is less exciting, but yeah, that rumor still persists today. But again, that kind of media tourism, even in locations like Tasmania, can still be a draw card for people to come in. So we're about 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. We could probably squeeze in. Actually, I was trying to find an example of this because you might not be familiar with this phenomena. Yeah, it's a shame, right? Large creators being affected by this attempt to police sexual erotic content, and instead false flagging this ASMR content because of the automated systems as being in breach of erotica guidelines. And it is a shame to think that these creators who have spent years building up businesses have now lost access to this overnight. It's a shame.
It is. Brand recognition on YouTube takes forever to load. And sometimes it's not even necessarily successful. You can work on it for like 10, 15 years and you would probably cap out at like a few thousand subscribers at most. Now imagine this.
Yeah, that's right. Where suddenly a kind of governance scheme in YouTube, an algorithm, has determined what survives online. That these creators who had been abiding by rules and regulations, suddenly this new automated system comes into play. They think they're okay, but then they wake up and their channel is either heavily penalized or removed in an automated fashion. It is a good question in terms of should algorithms have this much power over people's livelihoods?
It's definitely something to consider because, okay, just stepping back from the entire conversation a little bit, if we are talking solely about ASMR issues, there are definitely controversies with that genre. Okay, so like the clip you played just now, right? It's about someone eating. There is also a genre for mukbang ASMR. Basically, it's basically eating, but to the extreme. And it's actually quite unhealthy as well because you're literally like stuffing yourself to like the brink to where it's like physically unhealthy, and then you might even throw out some of the food. So that itself is controversial, and a separate discussion needs to be made on that. However, in this specific case, because we have an article on this, right? We both looked at it before entering the studio. The accounts that were flagged weren't even explicit or anything. None of it at all.
Look, and I think you're making a really good distinction there. There are certainly channels which deserve scrutiny and need to be ensured they're abiding by media statutes. But as you're saying, this account in Kotaku, the article in Kotaku has flagged a number of cases where it doesn't breach to any human's understanding of it issues that are trying to be addressed here, and it is that kind of limitation of algorithms, of AI-based systems, where they're not able to distinguish or judge in a way a human could the distinction between erotic content and ASMR content. There might be breathy words, breathy words and kind of whispers going on, but that's not erotica. That's just a book being read in an ASMR style. And again, losing that distinction, I think, is a limitation of the algorithm, and particularly where it's going to restrict creative freedoms in these ways.
The approach on it matters as well, because when we think about ASMR, like the most typical sort of it involves like the creators, human beings, right? They go up very close to the mic and then they generate sounds, which, results in ASMR. And that's fine and all, but I can also understand the counter argument from the other side that, them going so close to the camera, making all these sounds, it's something very, for the lack of a better word, sensual. It's very sensitive. So I can see how a few people may be uncomfortable with it. I also have a bit of reservations on that kind of thing as well. But at the same time, a blanket ban like this never ever works. Because, you've already mentioned how like it's very unfair to just like blindly trust an AI to shut everything down because someone just barely steps out of the line, or doesn't at all in this case. But banning something over explicit content without giving a proper reason or even a specification on where exactly it went wrong, that is nothing short of a surveillance state.
It is. And look, I would hope here at Edge Radio, if we had a show that wanted to do an ASMR Edge Radio program, we'd give it a fair look and consideration. So there you go. If you'd like to do an ASMR show on Edge Radio, talk to the station manager. Try to get it through. But that's pretty much brought us to the top of the hour. Brian, thank you so much for being involved in the discussion.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a wonderful hour-long deep dive into some really interesting articles. And I appreciate you've just come in here to volunteer today, and suddenly I've dragged you into the show media mothership.
Don't be. I love this, actually, being in the studio.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Brian, and thank you everyone for listening. Keep listening now to some really exciting continued excitement of music on Edge Radio. Coming up at 5:30 will be Kiz's show Tapestry. So enjoy that, and thanks again, Brian.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.